India add to their run of bilateral series wins. The series against England is theirs after a 15-run win in the fourth T20I means they have an unassailable 3-1 lead in this five-match contest. Welcome to ESPN Cricinfo Timeout, where we are going to dissect a game which had a lot of changes, including one in particular in the middle, which has been the subject of much intrigue already. But that later, Sanjay, just on the overall look of it, England in both innings found themselves way on top, but have somehow found a way of losing this.
I guess this will be a very satisfying win for India, and you saw the reaction of the Indian coach as well, because India was actually in a losing position when they were out there batting, when they lost 5 wickets for nothing. And then the kind of start England had, and batting second time around, you thought maybe the pitch would just get a little easier. Never easy when you have to bat first in India. So a win that made India dig a little deep and gave us a better understanding and gave us a bit of an in-depth look at this Indian T20 team.
Yes, there was digging deep required in both innings, as Sanjay points out. They were 80 for 5, 87 for 5 in 12 overs. They've ended up with 181 with half centuries from the number 6 and number 7. Only the third time that's happened in a men's T20I innings. How impressive were those efforts, Sanjay, from Hardik Pandya and Shivam Dube?
Well, it tells you why you need a power hitter down the order. And just the one thing that, I've seen Shivam Dube after a while. The last time we saw him was obviously in the World T20, the T20 World Cup. Just feels a little more relaxed now. He carries this air of confidence and with it a little relaxed as he was at the crease. He made his name for being that, big hitter down the ground, and mid wicket was his area where he made a name for himself in the IPL playing for Chennai Super Kings. But today, if you saw one pull shot that he played against Adil Rashid, the ball was slightly short. So you can see that he's also adding a lot of back foot shots with the same kind of power. And that becomes even more problematic for the bowlers. And Hardik Pandya, well, in the last game, he was a little slow and he takes his time to get going. But when he plays some of the shots that he does, you realize the kind of incredible talent that this guy has. So fantastic partnership and just the ability of both batters was on show there.
Dube's case, it wasn't as if this was an inning short of troubles because England did try to attack him with the short stuff, but he managed to find a way.
I think that is important. You've got to find a way because you can get a little, affected by the short ball because it's not a, nice sight for a batter to be fending and, seeming like he doesn't like the short ball. The one time when he let the ball go, it hit him on the shoulder. The second time on the helmet, which was a little unfortunate, although that in the end helped India with the kind of concussion substitute that they got. But he made sure that he wasn't putting his glove out there and getting out. So if he doesn't have an ego about that thing, then he might just respect the short ball, and there is a limit as to how many you can bowl. The important thing is then to be ready for the ball that is pitched up. And I thought against the faster bowlers, apart from the short ball problem, I thought he looked really good against the faster bowlers as well because there was just the one spinner, and he got a quick 50, so he had to score off the fast bowlers too.
The last of the bouncers that Dube faced becomes eventually the subject of a huge talking point in this contest because that meant India were allowed a concussion substitute. They were allowed a like-for-like replacement. Sanjay Manjrekar, Harshit Rana as a like-for-like replacement for Shivam Dube. Where do you stand on that?
The rule, it's much simpler to interpret that when it comes to a batter or a bowler, a pure batter, pure bowler. But when it comes to somebody who can do both, then there is an issue because Jadeja, if you remember in 2020, it may have been in Australia, Chahal became his concussion substitute because Jadeja is a noteworthy bowler in T20 cricket or one-day cricket. And thank God for India that Shivam Dube also has that kind of a record. He's bowled a few overs at the international level. So India could make a strong case. Now, whether he's exactly like for like, I'm not so sure. I mean, anyone out there would know that when you're thinking of, playing somebody like a Shivam Dube, a similar player, you won't pick Harshit Rana, but India could put up a case. And that is what you have to basically do is convince the officials. The argument could have gone in such a way that India would have said, we were planning to use Shivam Dube for 4 overs. We've lost services because of the concussion issue, and we want a bowler for that. And if Dube wasn't a bowler, they wouldn't have been able to make that kind of an argument if it was Surya Kumar Yadav or somebody else. So when it comes to an all-rounder, then you can't be sort of weighing the pros. I mean, seeing the weightage of the batting and bowling, and whether the concussion substitute has the same qualities, and whether they have the same kind of balance between bat and ball, as in bowling and batting skills. So that's the problem. And the thing I want to finish by is saying that a lot of the decisions that used to be made on the field has now gone into the rule books. Bad light, for example, it was left to the umpires to decide. So if common sense was used, then obviously Harshit Rana is not a like for like replacement. But because one has to go by the rules, India could make a case for it, for
Now,
Harshit Rana to play.
Now, the difference, since you brought up Jadeja and Chahal, Sanjay, the difference worth pointing out is that in that case, in that T20I in Sydney those years ago, India didn't have any other bowling candidate on their bench. In this squad, India do have a Ramandeep Singh, who, if you go by roles, is closer to Shivam Dube in terms of being a batting all-rounder. You look at their overs bowled in T20 cricket, both of them average less than an over bowled per match. So is that where this becomes grayer?
That argument can be made, but it's not about whether a player is a batting all-rounder or a bowling all-rounder. We've seen careers of players change, where at one time, like Jadeja in Australia was more a batting all-rounder than a bowling all-rounder. Nitish Kumar Reddy as well. Just that Shivam Dube has the capacity to bowl, and he's bowled a fair bit at the international level. I think more than 100 overs in his career, in more than 100 matches. There was an argument for India to make. Whether he was a like-for-like replacement, no. But as per the rules, the official had to hear India's argument, and there was nothing he could do about it, because the argument could have been in this way, that Shivam Dube has bowled before as well, and we were planning to use him as a bowler, and we want him a replacement who can do what Shivam Dube would have done had he been on the field. And it's exactly that same argument that happened with Jadeja. In the case of Jadeja, I don't think there was any concussion protocol that was taken, if I remember correctly, at least this time round, when Dube was hit, that process was adhered to.
Yeah, the story becomes all that more important when the replacement comes in and takes 3 wickets, plays quite a hand. Now, Harshit Rana, he can only go by what he's told. He's allowed on the park, but coming on the park on T20I debut and making quite an impact.
Yes, and even in that count, you could see that he's not like for like when it comes to speed. I don't think Shivam Dube would have bowled as quickly as Harshit Rana did. He clocked 150 as well. But Harshit Rana, clearly there's something about him, and I was a little disappointed in Australia that he didn't play more matches. Plus, T20 is his thing, isn't it? That's how he came into the spotlight. Just like the fire, that he has got a very important wicket at the right time, and then made sure England wasn't recovering. So out comes a guy as a substitute, but he was ready for it. It's almost like he had an inkling before the match. I just love the way how ready he looked to take on that responsibility.
And of course, it is a decision and a phase of the game which wasn't met with the most pleasant reaction in the English camp. You could see Joss Butler was visibly frustrated. But that is one part of the second innings, Sanjay. The other part is England will have their own frustrations at being 62 for no loss in the power play, at being in another comfortable enough position when Harry Brook was going well later on, but then just sliding away.
Yes, and you can see both batting sides, India and England, are committed to playing the big game no matter what. I believe that is the right way to go. If you're batting first, batting second, once you've got that kind of a start, the required rate had never gone beyond 10. It was hovering at 9 after the first 6 overs, where England got a flyer. So I think there is room for somebody to play as per the situation. Maybe Harry Brook would have done that had he not got out, to Varun. So I believe batting second, there could have been a little more of tempering of the approach. And interesting, yes, when you look at it, that you got two teams playing the big game, and we've never seen T20 batting played with so much intent and aggression, and everyone looking to come and get maximum runs on board. Having said that, we've just got 180 as the highest score in this tournament, so that's also food for thought, I guess.
Yeah, it continues the trend of almost every series we go into, bucking whatever it is we come to expect of it. Because we came into this one thinking these two batting lineups, good batting tracks, 200 is bare minimum. Well, as Sanjay points out, 181 so far is the highest score. Focusing on the Indian bowling effort, we've discussed Harshit Rana and all the layers that came with his entry into the park. But when you look at the rest, the way India found their way back after the runs leaked in the power play, what stood out the most to you?
I think Bishnoi got the crucial wickets for India, and he was the one who really made India believe that they could, win after the kind of start that England had. Varun Chakravarthy just can't help but get wickets. India would have struggled a little bit if Harshit Rana hadn't come to their rescue. But there was still that spin element. Akshar Patel as well contributed. So I wouldn't say the pitches were belters in this series. I think there was enough in the pitch for the spinners to make a mark. We've seen how spinners can struggle in the IPL, where the pitches are a lot flatter. This tournament has just allowed the spinners to have a bit of a say. And then to sort of play the big game against spinners, you need to be exceptional as a batter, and that is something England found out in this series.
Yeah, and that is what comes to cost them. They eventually fall short by 15 runs. India have the series wrapped up. Do want to go back to the start of the game, Sanjay, because it is now quite the recurring theme of the series. Sanju Samson, 4 innings, all 4 times, has fallen to a short ball which he's skied up in the air. Concerning signs?
Got into a very awkward position. I thought, it didn't bounce as much. And I thought England assessed the pitch really well. And you saw they weren't trying to pitch anything up or trying to get the ball to swing. They found that the pitch was a little drier to begin with and made the most of it. He just didn't get any pace at all on the ball. But we've said this before as well, isn't it? You live by the sword, you die by the sword, and sometimes the batting can implode. Now, this is a guy who got, 305 T20 matches. So I guess that kind of allowance can be made. And hopefully in Mumbai, where the ball bounces a little more and the ball comes onto the bat, you might see Samson getting 100. That's the thing you get with Samson. When he gets going, he gets a big one. Uh, you know, virtually the whole of his career, he's just got that one big one in a long tournament, but he's getting that a little more regularly. But once you lose confidence in T20 cricket, it's never easy to get it back in because you can't take your time like 50 overs cricket allows you to.
Does that series finale in Mumbai become a very important game for Sanju Samson? Because India don't play T20Is for many months now. There will be an IPL, there'll be newer storylines, newer batting options emerging. So, quite important for Sanju Samson.
I think when you're looking at a T20 talent, batting talent, you've got to see when they're playing well, what is the kind of impact they can make? What contribution can they make? And you see with Sanju Samson, when he plays well, he gets an incredible 100 and puts your team in a winning position. So such people are allowed failures and maybe a long patch of failures as well, because that's the nature of the beast, is it a T20 cricket where you can't really play yourself in. So they have to keep taking those risks that they take. And hopefully, there's one innings that just propels him back into form. So with Sanju Samson, I think you should just make sure that he gets as many innings as possible, purely because when he gets into form and plays well, he makes it all worth it. And now, if that was a guy who was failing in this fashion and when he got into form just got to go 40 or a 50, then maybe you would offer him a shorter rope. But I'll have a lot of patience with this current version of Sanju Samson.
All right. The story of this Pune T20I isn't complete without a mention of the man who got Samson out. Because Saqib Mahmood playing his first match of the series, replacing Mark Wood, to start with a triple wicket maiden.
Yeah, crazy. And I guess, just him hitting the length and not trying to pitch the ball up, it was just unbelievable, how he got himself going. Um, 3 wickets that put India on the mat and didn't concede a run, right? As that happened for the first time ever. Three wicket made no.
Yes, it was the first triple wicket maiden for an England bowler in this format. And look at those 3 wickets. That's 10 T20I hundreds within them in Samson, Tilak and Suryakumar Yadav.
Well said.
But eventually, in a losing cause, that should just about wrap it. So many storylines to unpack from this Pune contest. Let's hope Mumbai gives us some as well as the series comes home for its finish, Sanjay.
Yes, and I think the Mumbai crowd will have a better reception for Hardik Pandya this time around, I guess.
Yeah, it has been a while. You are expecting them to behave this time. On that note, thank you so much for your company, Sanjay Manjrekar. Always a pleasure. That does it from us at the end of the 40-20I. Be sure to join us for the series finale at the Wankhede.